All right, Chiefs Kingdom, let's get into it, starting with a topic that always fires people up. Patrick Mahomes and those massive stat projections. A fan recently tossed out the idea of Mahomes hitting 5,000 passing yards and 50 touchdowns this season. Now that would be legendary, no doubt, but is it what we actually want? Let me break it down. If Mahomes throws for 5,000 yards, it's usually because the team is playing from behind and needs to keep slinging the ball to catch up. That's not the Chiefs football we want. We want balance, control, and wins, not necessarily video game numbers. Sure, 50 touchdowns sounds amazing, but even if Mahomes ends the season with fewer yards and touchdowns, as long as we're winning and he's in full command, that's what matters. We're here for Lombardies, not stat sheets. Now let's shift to some guys who need to step up this year, starting with Juju Smith-Schuster. If he stays healthy and holds on to the football, that alone would be a huge win. No more critical drops, no more disappearing acts, just be available and consistent. That's all we're asking. Then there's Kingsley Suamataia. He might not have the longest arms in the league, but if he can hold his ground at guard and not let his reach be a liability, he's going to be fine. In fact, he could end up being a better fit inside than outside. The tools are there. It's all about technique and confidence. And let's not forget Felix Anudike-Uzomah. This guy was a first-round pick for a reason. But now it's time to show it. We're not asking for double-digit sacks out the gate, but give us something. Pressure, hustle, making plays, anything to justify the draft stock. And of course, Hollywood Brown. Whether he's stretching the field or just being a reliable target underneath, the key is staying healthy and showing up when it matters. If that happens, this offense could be one of the scariest in the league. Let me ask you, do you think Mahomes needs to throw for 5,000 yards to win another Super Bowl? Drop your take in the comments. And hey, while you're here, help us reach our goal of 4,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you believe in this team's potential. Let's talk about a name that still gets Chiefs fans emotional. Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. A Chiefs legend, a leader in the locker room, and a guy who helped turn our defense into a championship-caliber unit. So here's the big question. Should the Chiefs bring him back? Look, I'll always be a fan of Tyrann. His time in Kansas City was incredible. He brought intensity, leadership, and playmaking that helped shape a Super Bowl-winning defense. And even now, playing for the Saints, he's still producing. 3 or 4 interceptions a season, a solid number of pass breakups, and he's stayed healthy. He hasn't slowed down the way some might have expected. In short, he can still ball. But here's the thing. Just because a player is still good doesn't mean he fits the current. Picture, the Chiefs have invested in young talent at the safety position. Jaden Hicks is getting a lot of attention. Brian Cook is coming into his own. Mike Edwards is a solid rotational piece, and the team has already built chemistry around that core. If you're going to give up draft capital or spend money, it better be for a move that fills a clear need. Bringing Honey Badger back would be more of a nostalgia play than a strategic one. Now, would it be fun to see him in red and gold again? Absolutely. But we've got to think like Brett Veach here. Forward, not backward. The future of this defense lies in its youth. They're faster, cheaper, and already in the system. You don't mess with that unless the reward clearly outweighs the risk. Let's put it to a vote. Should the Chiefs trade for Tyrann Mathieu? Type T for trade or P for pass down in the comments. Let's see where Chiefs Kingdom stands on this. And while you're weighing in, make sure you're subscribed. We're pushing hard to hit 4,000 subscribers, and your support gets us one step closer. So if you're enjoying the content, hit that button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what's coming next. All right, up next, we're diving into some big free agent names that could still end up in Kansas City. You don't want to miss this. All right, let's get into some free agent talk. Just because the main part of the offseason is behind us doesn't mean Brett Veach is done cooking. There are still some names floating out there that could make a real impact for the Chiefs, especially if the right opportunity opens up. Three guys in particular stand out: Amari Cooper, Brandon Scherff, and Zadarius Smith. Let's start with Amari Cooper. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do we really need another wide receiver? With Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, when available, and the rookies stepping in, the room is looking better than last year. But let's be honest, injuries and inconsistency have plagued this group. Cooper would bring a veteran presence and sure hands. He's not just a body, he's still producing at a high level. Adding Cooper would give Mahomes yet another reliable target. And in this league, that depth can be the difference between winning in January or going home early. Then there's Brandon Scherff. This one is all about protection. With some question marks at the guard position, especially with Kingsley still adjusting to the NFL, it wouldn't hurt to have a proven veteran on the line. Scherff is a plug-and-play guy. If he's healthy, he upgrades the line instantly, and with Mahomes under center, protecting the franchise should always be a top priority. Finally, Zadarius Smith. This is one I really like. You can never have too many pass rushers, and Smith still brings heat off the edge. He'd be a great complement to George Karlaftis and Chris Jones, especially in obvious passing downs. If the Chiefs want to make life miserable for opposing quarterbacks, adding Smith would be a strong move. Now, if you could only sign one of these guys, who would it be? Drop your pick in the comments: Cooper, Scherff, or Zadarius. And if you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, help us grow the Total Chiefs News family. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. We're closing in on 4,000 subscribers, and every bit of support helps us bring you daily Chiefs content that keeps it real. Coming up next, we dive into Khalil Herbert, and whether he's a fit in KC. Don't go anywhere. Now let's get into a name that's starting to pick up steam in Chiefs Kingdom: Khalil Herbert. There's a growing buzz about whether Kansas City should make a move for the former Bears and current Bengals running back. So let's break it down. Is Herbert a fit for the Chiefs? And more importantly, what's the cost? Here's the backstory. Herbert had a promising start to his career, but his numbers dipped last season after moving from Chicago to Cincinnati. Just 36 carries for 130 yards, a 3.6 yards per carry. Average and a single touchdown. Not exactly eye-popping stats, right? But there's context here. He didn't get a lot of opportunities, and he's still got solid upside, especially as a pass catcher. And here's where it gets interesting. Herbert has ties to Kansas. Tyler Jones, who covered him during his KU days, made it clear Herbert was underused and overlooked in college, but he's always had the talent. Les Miles and that KU staff were too focused on Puka Williams, and they missed what they had in Herbert. Now fast forward to today, Puka is out of the league, and Herbert is still grinding. So the real question isn't whether he's talented, it's whether he's worth giving something up for. If Cincinnati is dangling him for a late-round pick, or better yet, if he gets released during roster cuts, that's a different story. You make that move. He'd bring reliable depth behind Isaiah Pacheco and be a nice third-down option with his receiving ability. But if the Bengals want anything more than a seventh-round pick or a fringe roster player, that's where you pump the brakes. The Chiefs already have decent depth at running back, and unless the price is right, you don't need to get aggressive. So let's open this one up to you. Should the Chiefs trade for Khalil Herbert? Drop your answer in the comments. Type P for play, N for no. And hey, if you love this kind of deep dive discussion, hit that like button and subscribe to Total Chiefs News. We're on a mission to hit 4,000 subscribers, and your support makes it happen. Next up, we wrap things up with a look at the defense, sack predictions, rising talent, and a little trivia to end the show. Let's close things out by talking about what could be the X factor for the Chiefs this season: the defense, and specifically, the pass rush. A fan asked a great question. Who's going to lead the team in sacks this year? A lot of people will immediately say Chris Jones, and that's fair. The guy's a beast. But let me toss another name into the mix: George Karlaftis. Karlaftis is just scratching the surface. Last season, we started to see flashes of what he can become. Strong, relentless, and starting to understand how to finish plays. If he keeps developing, he could absolutely lead the team in sacks. And that's not a knock on Jones. It's a sign this defense is stacked with talent. Now let's talk about one of the rookies, Ashton Gillott. There's definitely potential there, but let's be real, he's a work in progress. The Chiefs didn't draft him expecting instant impact. They saw a guy with raw tools who needs coaching and development. His pressure rate at Louisville was solid, but his sack numbers dropped last season. This year, expect the coaching staff, especially Spags, to work closely with him. The goal? Turn those pressures into actual sacks. John Gruden used to say, "I don't want pressures, I want sacks." That's exactly what Kansas City will be working on with Gillott. 2025 might not be his breakout year, but this season is about building the foundation so he can become a real factor down the road. Don't expect miracles overnight, but don't be surprised if he flashes here and there when he gets on the field. Let's hear from you. Who do you think will lead the Chiefs in sacks this year? Drop your answer in the comments. Chris Jones or George Karlaftis? And just for fun, can anyone name the band that sings the song Mr. Jones? One of Tyler's favorites. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to Total Chiefs News. We're chasing 4,000 subscribers, and every like, comment, and sub helps us grow this amazing community of Chiefs fans. Thanks for hanging with us. See you next time.